Hey guys, welcome to this week's video. This week is going to be more of a story time and kind of like a past story time where I talk a little bit more about my past, some of my passions. Today is going to be one that's really deep from my heart, and one that acted as the foundation for my wanting and my desire to seek after music. So we'll get into it right away, guys. Let's go. So guys, what is it? What kind of led me into getting into music relatively full time, and like what was my passion beforehand, or has music always been like my primary passion? Now I'm gonna have to say no, it hasn't. Actually, music has not been my primary passion for a decent part of my life. It was always a really big part of my life. I remember like going on car rides with my dad just randomly in the rain, and we just blast music and not really talk and just kind of, but that's not what we're here to talk about today, guys. We're here to talk about what was my main passion and still kind of is my passion. Now it's more of like a recessed position to music, but back then it used to be, are you ready? Soccer, or how basically everyone else in the world says it, football, because you use your feet to play it. At a very young age, having parents from South America, specifically more my dad who's from Argentina, soccer has always been a huge part of his life, so he wanted to make that part of my life. And since a very young age, I loved soccer, and I've been playing it for as long as I can remember. And I remember when we first moved to Surrey, and then I actually started like playing soccer more and more often. And I was always on I was always on teams, like city teams and stuff. And it was always like a really good time. And I remember some of my most fond moments. Like I remember there's this Chilean family. By the way, my mom's Chilean and my daughter's Argentinian. There's this Chilean family that we were really close to, and one of his kids played on my soccer team. And we're in this final, and I think we were against like, it was some dumb like kid soccer team name, like the Thunder or something like that. And I remember we're playing and we're absolutely smoking these guys. And he got tackled, the Chilean's son got tackled really badly, and it really messed up his ankle. I think he had to get surgery for that because it really messed him up. But I remember me and him were like unstoppable. We'd like communicate. We just had this understanding of, and like, correct me if I'm wrong, people who play soccer who watch this. It's just like you have that player on your team. If you haven't already developed it, it's just like you guys already know where the other person is, like their habits. Like, do they hug the last defender, or do they wrap around the side? Do they pull back when you go forward? Stuff like that, you know what I mean? So that was like our relationship, and I remember we played for a long time together in different venues and stuff like that, and it was really great, and it's some of my most fondest memories. But as I grew older and stuff like that, obviously I started to get a little bit more competitive, and it was something I like started to consider something more of a possibility. And I remember I always talked to my dad and how I always wanted to be a soccer player, and my dad was like, you know what, let's do it. He tried to be as supportive as possible in my goal for that. And then at that time, my mom wasn't really supportive of that idea. She was more practical, and she wanted to kind of make it something that was going to be like, you know what, I want you to be able to actually take care of yourself, because I know soccer is not something that everyone can achieve, and I just want to be sure you're okay. And I know it wasn't done out of spite, and like in retrospect, I can totally see where she was coming from. That still being one of my passions, my dad really supported me in that. I'm going to show some pictures of some past, maybe some past photos that I might have. I'll put them in this video. If not, I'll just add them into the end, or I guess you guys are just gonna have to listen to my beautiful voice. So after doing that for quite a while and really kind of enjoying soccer and moving on, and as I said, it was getting more and more competitive, I started to take things a little bit more seriously. And then when we actually moved so I didn't play soccer when we moved to Chilliwack initially, because I was going to school, a French immersion school in Abbotsford, and then I went to a French immersion school in Chilliwack. Some of you guys might know it, La Vérendrye. Terrible school. I hate it with a passion. Some of the teachers there were great, but it's just like, I don't know. It was like, at the time when I was there, I think there was 80 kids in the entire school, all French immersion. And I don't know. Again, some of you guys who probably watch this know it, and they actually went to that school with me. But sports programs there were absolutely a joke. By the way, that's my light. I'm gonna have to mute myself for that part. So I didn't really play soccer that much in there. And then the city soccer team, I'd heard like good and bad things, kind of contrasting things on what was good about it, what was bad about it. Anyway, this is kind of a long-winded way to say that I really loved soccer, and I played soccer in high school, I played soccer in middle school, and it was some of my greatest moments ever. And so I was seriously considering being a soccer player for a career. So once I saw this opportunity, I'm gonna flash it on here, to go to Barcelona for some tryouts and for like a school thing. So you pay to go to this school, and then while you're there, they also test you to see if you would fit to go into La Masia. La Masia is their kids youth group, not youth group, that sounds weird, but like their academy class. And once you get in there, you have the opportunity to build yourself up in the ranks and eventually maybe get promoted to the first team, which would be my dream, as my favorite player is Lionel Messi. I went there with all this amazing hope in the world. It was my first time traveling truly alone. We flew to Frankfurt, and from Frankfurt, I flew by myself. Actually, no, what? We drove. What am I talking about? We flew from LA to Frankfurt, and then we drove from Frankfurt to Barcelona. My mom dropped me off there. We stayed at a university campus with the school that I was with, and they went off to Italy to do their kind of own thing. And I remember, so my dad, like a lot of times when my dad said things, I didn't really listen to him, as most kids do with their parents. And so he told me before me, he sat me down, and he's like, Greco, I know you're gonna go there and this is like the dream that you've always wanted that's gonna be like in your hands. But I wanna tell you that when you go there, the goal isn't, well, it is to get chosen for a spot at La Masia, but you have to also remember that there's other kids in there who want it probably just as bad as you do. So don't embarrass them. What he was saying essentially is it's 2 weeks long. And what he was trying to tell me is like the first week, go hard, but not so hard that they kind of, you don't have enough time to form enemies, essentially. And the second week, that's when you go hard. That's when you go really, really hard, when they've already seen the quality they can provide consistently, and then you go hard and then you swing for the fences. But of course, me, and as disrespectful as this probably might sound, me thinking, you know what, my dad has never really accomplished his dream. Why should I listen to him for this one? So I told him, yeah, whatever, I'll listen to you. It's, it'll be fine. I'll do what you say, whatever. So I go to Barcelona. It's this amazing experience. And, it's like, I don't know if any of you guys, if you've ever gotten the chance to get like so close to one of your dreams that it's like literally like in the palm of your hand, and you can smell it, you can taste it, you can feel it on the pitch, and like you get to see the players that you've like idolized growing up. You know what I mean? It was really like a surreal moment for me. But anyway, we go there. I get to meet a lot of really cool people, and of course, as I said earlier on, I didn't listen to what my dad said. And what I did there is every single time we had 3 training classes a day, and then a 4th one, which was more like tactical. But I went hard in every single one of those, and by the end of the first week, we're coming up on the second to last day of the first week, I had made basically enemies with every single person who wasn't in my B squad. Because the school, my age range was split up into 3 groups, A, B, and C. I was B. Basically, everyone from A class and everyone from C class hated me a lot because I made it my goal, and I know how probably narcissistic this sounds, that I want them to know, as well as the teachers to know, that I was the best person there. And how did I do that? I wasn't really technically skilled. Well, I was technically skilled, sort of, but I wasn't better than everyone else. I just worked really hard. So like, if I wasn't gonna be able to beat you with like pure skill, I was gonna beat you with just like working as hard as I can to do it. So here comes the part that's really difficult to me, and it was probably the saddest I've ever been to date. So it's the last training session of the day. I'd absolutely like swept these guys. Me and this guy from Brazil absolutely demolished C team. And C team had like the best goalie of them all. He was I forget what his name is. I don't know. He was absolutely incredible. He was really young. He was like 16 years old, but he was like 6'2". He could literally leap from one side of the net to the other, like diving across. It was incredible. But we'd absolutely thrash these guys. And one of the defenders on that team, he was Slovakian, and he was about 6 foot. Big guy. Super nice, but he was like, he took soccer really seriously, as did all of us, or football, my apologies. I hear like an old song of mine out there. We're playing this game, and it's coming to the end, and now we're just like the guy who's been coaching our individual. He's like, okay, now what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to keep the ball, and I don't want you guys to give it up, possession play, wear out the clock essentially. So we're doing that, and I receive a pass in. I'll show you in the mirror. So I receive the pass in this way. I grab the ball, stand it on my feet, right? I'll grab an actual soccer ball, so it's a little bit easier to figure this out. Okay, I get the ball coming into me. I grab the ball like this. And now all the weight is on this leg, holding myself up, and this leg is pretty soft. And I can feel that someone is coming up on my left side here. So I was just gonna do a quick roll this way. But instead of actually going for me or the ball, what this guy does is I have my foot on the ball like this, right? And as I'm about to do my turn, he comes with his cleats straight into the back of my really soft calf. And absolutely, I flip, essentially. And by flip, I mean like I literally flip because he came in with such like power and just like, he wanted to ruin me, essentially. And it worked. After that, the game ended. Because the clock ran out. I was just really unlucky, and I was kind of sitting there. My leg really hurt, but I'm like, whatever, I'll just walk it off. I tried to stand up, and I couldn't stand up. And one thing that you have to keep in mind for here, guys, like a lot of people who are actually playing on these teams, a lot of them are divers, right? These people that give soccer this really, really bad name and don't work. I wouldn't say they don't work hard, but they just, I don't know. They dive a lot, okay? It's just part of their game. So initially the coach and the medical staff were just like, whatever, he's just a faker. He's gonna get up eventually. But I literally had to wave him down and be like, no, come over here. And I pulled my sock down, I took off my shin pad, and the whole back part of my leg was purple. Like this whole part was purple. And I couldn't stand up. It was so weird because I know I didn't break anything. And I've torn like ligaments before, and it didn't feel like that either, so I was getting pretty worried. And so they had to like carry me off to the side, put me on a stretcher, get me on this like van thing, get me to the medical hospital, which was like a couple blocks away. This whole time I'm like, I have the words of my dad repeating inside of my head over and over and over again, and I'm like, please like just make it be something that's like easily fixable, like, because I could feel at this point like my dream is slipping away from my hands. Like the thing that I wanted more than anything in this world is slipping away from my hands. And I'm lying in this bed, I'm waiting for the doctor. He does some tests on me. He scans my leg, does a whole bunch of stuff. I'm in there for, I feel it's about an hour. And then the doctor comes in, he kind of looks at me and he puts his board down on the thing. He's like, how you doing? In Spanish, of course. This is in Spain. And I'm like, well, I mean, I've been better. So what, like, I want to get straight to the point because I'm like, I don't got time to this. I don't have time for this. I got to go for my, the rest of the training, which is like tactical training. And he's like, you know, you have a hematoma, I think that's how you say it in English, in your leg. I'm like, cool, what does that mean and how long will it take until I get better? Well, he's like, so a hematoma is essentially when the blood inside the vessels bursts and clots. So he's like, if we don't clear that stuff up, you could lose your leg essentially. You could lose the bottom part of your leg because no blood is going to it. And I'm like, okay, that sounds pretty fucking horrific. How do we fix this? Like, what do we have to do? Do we have to get a surgery? Because I'm like, I got good medical insurance. So whatever surgery we need, let's get it right now. Let's get this solved. We need to solve this right now. He's like, I'm sorry, son, but this is gonna take 6 months to heal properly. And I can still like picture and remember myself sitting there, and like I felt like a husk of a human being. I felt like all the light and joy and like magic in my life kind of slip away, and like reality set in really, really hard. And I stayed in the hospital for probably another 30 minutes just consistently crying. And then the guy who was in charge of, like, he was my own physiotherapist. I got really, really close with him. He came to pick me up, and he brought in like a wheelchair, and he wheelchaired me out. And he's like, I'm still bawling my eyes out, and I got my hoodie wrapped over my face, and I'm like, I can't stop crying. And it's, oh wow, yeah, it was insane. It was a crazy, crazy moment. Like, I've never felt that type of sadness before, but like it taught me so many different things, and that experience was absolutely incredible. The people I got to meet was absolutely amazing, and it provided me with a new love for Barcelona, the city. But that kind of segued into my passion for music and my want and my desire to explore different things that I couldn't necessarily do, because I wanted to get back to playing soccer, but I couldn't. I couldn't walk, essentially. I was in crutches for a really long time. I started to explore different parts of what I liked, and music had always been, like I said at the beginning, a really, really big part of my life. And that's when I started exploring music. Guys, I know this has been a long one. I'm gonna try to trim this down as much as possible to make it a little easier to digest. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want to hear more of the story and kind of more of my process to how I got to where I am today, just like process-wise, let me know in the comment section down below. If you guys like this video, if you guys want to hear more story times, give me a like down below. Subscribe if you guys haven't subscribed. And thank you guys again. I really appreciate it. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.